Hello YouTubers, this is Music Soar here, and I'd like to do a quick little video here today talking about something that I think needs to be talked about. Tomorrow, March 24th, 2013, marks a pretty big milestone in the genres of music, as it marks the 40th anniversary of the Pink Floyd masterpiece, The Dark Side of the Moon. Now, while thinking about this, some of you will say Dark Side of the Moon, whoop-de-doo, whatever. But to me, this is a pretty big thing in music because I think this album holds records that I believe will never be broken. 700 plus weeks on the album charts over 14 years from 1973 till 1988 on the album charts is a huge feat that no other band, I'll go ahead and say it, that record will never be broken. I don't think there's an album that could ever come out that could ever break that record. It's one of the highest selling albums. It's one of the most recognized albums. Like Storm Thorgerson in interviews said, he did the artwork, and as soon as Pink Floyd walked into the room, they seen it and they're like, we want that one. And he went and showed him other pictures and all that, and they said, that's nice, but we want that one. And it's a pretty big milestone. Now, some influence, I want to talk about this, and I know some people might not agree with this statement, but I believe Dark Side of the Moon validated progressive rock as a pretty big genre. Like, you could say, well, the Beatles with Sgt. Pepper, I've seen in like a progressive rock stuff. They talked about Sgt. Pepper, but I just never, it was in its infancy. But this record, I think, really validated progressive rock. You could say this album validated Pink Floyd as a big-ass rock band, on the same level as, let's say, Led Zeppelin, the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, even though the Beatles broke up and all that, but on that same pedestal. If not, Pink Floyd created a separate pedestal even higher for this record, but it's a very big accomplishment to say that this began Pink Floyd as a money-making machine from this point on. Another point about it, this is the album. This could be, you can think of this as what you want, but I really believe this was the album. Not that it hadn't happened before, but I think this was probably one of the few times that in mass it really did. Is you had the mainstream audience liking an album and the underground audience. Because you had Pink Floyd fans, let's say, who were with them from the beginning, who were mostly underground fans, and then commercial fans hearing all their friends listening to it too. It was probably one of the big albums that really merged the underground and commercial music together. Another point about it is hi-fi stereos, I believe, came out at the same time, mass market stereos, and it was said in documentaries I've seen, what album did you play on at first? There was another album that they mentioned. I can't remember the name off the top of my head of what it was, but it was one album, and the other album most people said they listened to it was Pink Floyd's The Dark Side of the Moon. Now this album, to me, is a very damn good record. Is it Pink Floyd's best work musically? It can be debated, but this album, I believe, should be really thought of, really celebrated in the annals of time. This album, I think, without this album, I don't think music is what it is today without this record. 40 years of Dark Side of the Moon. Probably spend tomorrow listening to some of this album, or probably listen to the album at least. But no, just thought I'd get this small little video out here to really show, because Pink Floyd, as you can tell, is my favorite band of all time. And this album, to me, 40 years, wow. Just looking back on it and thinking, where would the world be like? Would Alan Parsons have formed the Alan Parsons Project if not for the Dark Side of the Moon? But no, this is Music Sore here. Just thought I'd give you this little video. Peace.